Okay. Anyway, it might be a little maybe politically incorrect, but Happy Father's Day, everybody. Can we say that? Can we say Happy Father's Day? Anyway, welcome to Semichat Chaver. What is it? Our fourth annual Siyum to that giving out of the Tu'udot. Bishul Rabbi Lebowitz. This is, first of all, I'm very proud. Put it that way. I'm very, very proud, especially from the limud that we had the last month. As you're well aware of my complaints that we had before every single class. It was very difficult, a very, very difficult zman. Repeat was not easy, but like I said, your persistence and your dedication, it was clear on the marks of the exam. The marks of the exam were absolutely phenomenal. I think everybody was maybe 85 and above. So I'm like I said, I'm very, very proud of each and every one of you. And it goes to show, of course, we can't possibly move without the Nashim Tzadkaniyot, which are among us. Ladies, I wanna thank you for allowing your husbands to go out and learn every single. Fine, for sure. We could definitely clap for that. It's definitely not an easy thing. The fact that you wait for your husbands to come home at the end of a long day at work, and he maybe has a quick dinner with you, maybe bathe the kids, put them to bed, and then it's out to give the class. As long as your husbands are giving you at least one day a week where it's date night, which I'm very, very makpid on, but as long as they're giving you that and you push them out to learn every single night, it's your credit. And like I said, even though they're dedicated, the truth is a lot of the dedication is yours. So therefore, I thank every single one of you for giving your husbands the opportunity, and they should just continue growing together. You should continue pushing them to grow, as they say, mihayo el hayo. So thank you very much. Gentlemen, just like I said, this entire night is, I'm very proud. It's a tremendous accomplishment. Not only is the accomplishment for yourselves, I spoke this past week in Sudash Lishid. We also mentioned it in the shiur right before Mincha. And we said that if you look at Parashat HaShavua, there's a very famous Rashi that says that that after Aaron HaKohen, he got the job for lighting the candles in the candelabra. So it says in the Torah, it says Vayasken Aaron, and Aaron did so. And Rashi says on the spot, that it's his praise that he didn't deviate, he didn't change. So to that whatever commandment that Moshe Rabbeinu gave him, Aaron HaKohen, he fulfilled it to the T. And all the rabbis ask in this Rashi, what are you coming to tell me? So, it's his praise, he didn't change. Well, of course he didn't change. He's giving a law. He got a law from Moshe Rabbeinu. Why would you change the law? Imagine if you had a doctor, and the doctor, after he came out of surgery, he says, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Hazaku Baruch, I did the surgery according to the law. I would tell the doctor, if you didn't do the surgery according to the law, you would kill the guy. So what does it mean? His praises, he didn't change. What does it mean he didn't change? So the rabbis come along to explain that we brought from Rav Chaim Shmuel Lebowitz, that he says that the biggest yetzara, the biggest evil inclination of somebody is hergel. Hergel is when he becomes too used to something. Routine, as they call it. When a person gets too used to something, especially his religious career, his religion career, when he's doing things, almost like robotic. As religious people, we do things every single day. It's a big claim sometimes. I heard that one of the big rabbanim, they once spoke, that they said that, when it comes to the non-Jews, Barminan, you have the Arabs, Yimach Shemam, where you have the Christians, they have their one day where they go to shul. They have, the Arabs, they have their Friday, which is holy, and the Christians, they have Sunday. If you look at the decorum, sometimes they have in the synagogue, or not the synagogue, in their Beit Avodah Zarah, it's very, very quiet. You're never ever going to find somebody inside a church talking to his friend while in the middle of the priest's sermon. Why is that? Because they're only there once a week. He goes, but for us, we're there every single day. We live in a synagogue, we're here so often. So for us, it becomes routine. Synagogue becomes routine. And sometimes it becomes routine, therefore we get very used to things that we do. Therefore that's considered, in a way, our detriment. Because at the same time, even though we're here every single day, and that's considered a good thing, but at the same time, when you do something so often, it becomes almost robotic, and you lose the cheshek, you lose the excitement for the mitzvah. Therefore, the rabbis tell us the only way to truly gain a new perspective on the mitzvah itself is to learn about the mitzvah. Once you learn about it and you realize that there's some things that I don't know, and certain things that I wasn't so careful with, and certain things that I can maybe improve on, when you learn about the mitzvah becomes so much more pleasurable and so much more so much more excitement, put it that way. And therefore, the praise of Aaron HaKohen was, his greatness was, of course he didn't deviate from the law. Aaron HaKohen is not going to deviate from the law, but the greatness of Aaron was that even though he's been lighting the candles, he's been lighting this menorah for God knows how long, for 40 years, but he was lighting it with the same enthusiasm at year 40 as he was enthusiastic about it on the first day he lit it. You know, sometimes you have the bar mitzvah boys. The bar mitzvah, they're so excited to put on their tefillin. You sit there so careful as they're wrapping it, and they kiss it and they put it back inside the bag. And the guy that's been putting on tefillin for 50 years, he throws it on, and after he finishes, he throws it off, and he just puts it back inside the bag. There's no excitement. So what is the difference between the bar mitzvah boy and the man that's putting it on for a long time? The answer is because he's excited to do it. The bar mitzvah boy is excited to do it, but the guy that's putting it on for so long, he's not so excited. The greatness of Aaron HaKohen was Shelo Shina. His greatness was he didn't actually change. His attitude towards the mitzvah itself, he didn't deviate from the actual law itself. And therefore I say that there's so much benefit that we have, the fact that we get to, come together once a week and we review it and we get into these laws. Birkat HaNe'enin, which is something that we're studying now, it's as almost I say at the beginning of every single class, what could you possibly teach me about which bracha pine nuts are, which bracha cranberries are, which bracha, cactuses, is it orla or is it not? The truth is, the more you learn it, the more it becomes chaviv, the more it becomes dear. Thank you. The more it becomes dear in your eyes. And therefore, that's definitely one benefit about learning these things. But it's more than that. Ladies, you should know that Baruch Hashem, I have the zechut to teach a lot of classes during the week. And it's dafka with the Semichat Chaver crowd that people ask me questions on what I teach. Not because what I teach here is better than what I teach elsewhere, but because sometimes when you learn without material, when you learn with just listening to the rabbi, he's just telling it to you, and you nod your head, and then that's it. After you finish, it goes through one ear and it goes out the other. You don't even remember to ask questions. But with the Semichat Chaver, because it's in front of you, because we go over it so often, you at least remember that the fact that what's in front of you is bichlal a question. That is, I think, in my opinion, the benefit of Semichat Chaver is that not only do you learn it, but at a certain time you remember it. And even if you don't remember 100%, you know what's in front of you is considered a question. I'm so proud of the fact that sometimes I walk around on Rosh Hashanah and on Yom Kippur, and I know that the test is right after Sukkot, but yet in between the tikiyot, in between the blowing of the shofar, in between the rabbi's sermon, in between whatever it is, I see some people, they have their notes that we printed from the exam, from the review for the exam, and they're looking it over. Baruch Hashem, Yishtabach Shem, what a beautiful way to go through the new year of just studying for an exam that you can have right afterwards. I don't remember last time I had that hana'ah. I remember when I was learning in Israel and we had these very intense Rabbanut exams, and I was taking them, and the only thing I could think of was to pass this exam. But Baruch Hashem, we're having the same exact feeling. It gives your holiday a whole different look at it, a whole different meaning. So therefore, I believe that Semichat Chaver, when it comes to ourselves, it's a tremendous benefit. But I'll tell you something else, that I believe that Semichat Chaver is also considered a tremendous benefit for our families and for our children. Me personally, I know that in my life, with my own kids, sometimes when I'm with my son and when I'm driving alone in the car, I review with him the shiur that I'm going to be giving later that night. When I review with him, I tell him chidushim that maybe I didn't know or maybe he doesn't know, and it makes things so interesting. And the truth is, the more that your children see you studying, the more that your children, they see that you consider something important, more important than your job, more important than your friends, but they see, look how much Abba cares about the Torah that he's studying. For your children, it becomes a whole different ballgame. I saw that Rabbi Zubashem wrote down a story. It's kind of a sad story, but he said that one time there was a certain yeshiva in the region of Dan. And this yeshiva was considered they were known to raise kids that were going to be the next, the big rabbis of the generation. So one time they made a dinner. And by the dinner, they made each one of the kids get up and say what they consider to be the most important thing in their lives. And each child got up and each child said, I consider to be Torah the most important thing in my life. And I think Chesed is the most important thing in my life. And I think charity is the most important thing in my life. And each one gave another bomb answer, and all the faculty, they're all smiling from ear to ear because that's their chinuch, that's how they raise the kids. And all of a sudden, one of the last kids to get up, and he says, I think the most important thing in my life is cholent. And everybody was like, all the teachers were shocked. How could he be saying cholent? And afterwards, they came up to him and they said, what did you mean when you said cholent? He says, well, you should know. He goes, every single Shabbat by my Shabbat table, he goes, when my father says the Dvar Torah, everybody has to be quiet. Why? Because Daddy is saying the Dvar Torah now. He goes, however, when it comes to us saying the Dvar Torah, my father is not so paying attention, but not only that, the moment my mother brings out the cholent, that's it. You can't talk to him anymore, you can't look at him anymore, you can't say anything to anyone, because the moment the cholent's out, there's nothing more important in the world to my father at that moment than the cholent. Therefore, the child looks at his teachers, he said, therefore I came to the conclusion that Torah is important, but when it comes to cholent, that is the most important thing you can have. And I remember reading this story, I said, it's a small messages that we give over to our kids, not dafka to what we say, but sometimes in the way that we act. So therefore, if your child sees you that you care about something so much that you have these booklets with you and you're taking notes, and sometimes even you bring your kids to the class. I know that whenever I can, I bring my son to the class, and he sees how much we care about it. I guarantee you, at the end, there's a trick in psychology that sometimes when you wanna know what's important to your kid, you ask them, especially the small kids, you ask them to draw a picture. So one time there was two chavrutot in Israel that they decided they took upon themselves to learn Mishnayot together. That's what they're going to do. They're going to learn Mishnayot and they're slowly going to finish every single Masechet in Shas. So all of a sudden, one of the great Rabbanim, he sent one of these guys over to France to be a rabbi over there. And even though they were going to break up where they're going to be in a physical sense, they still decided every single month, we're going to learn, not every single day, at 11:30 at night, we're going to learn B'chavruta for half an hour, Mishnayot, whatever, we're going to continue our learning. So one guy was in Israel, the other guy was in France, and even though this is a long time ago, they had I think that the story says the bill ended up being 500 shekel per month, but they split it, 250 here, 250 there, and they were learning every single night for half an hour Mishnayot. And one day the mother is with one of the kids of this father, and she asked him, she says, draw a picture of anything. And the child, he draws a picture of his father sitting at the table, and he drew a picture of a clock. And the clock, it said, what time was it? It was exactly 11:30, 12 o'clock. That's the time that he wrote. And he wrote a picture of his father that was sitting at the table with a telephone in his hands and Mishnayot open in front of him. That means that these things, they make a tremendous impact on our children, even though we don't necessarily know how much affecting we are our kids. But the truth is, when they see that you care about something so much, when you see that, something else besides your job or something else besides your friends or whatever it is, something else matters, they take it tremendously to heart. And these are the kids that grow tremendously from this. And therefore, like I said, I bless all of you that you should go, again, you should pass all these Mechat Chaver exams. But it's not necessarily about the exam. It's not about the exam. It's about the fact that you get a sipuk, you get a geshmak. You get a geshmak. There you go. I said the Rabbi. You get a geshmak from the limud itself because that's more important. Because if you don't like what you're learning, everything is going to disappear. And even though we had a very hard time in this past month with the, I don't think I ever read more from the notes directly to the class. I didn't even memorize it because it was so difficult sometimes. Just the sugya itself, it was so difficult. I'll tell you one last story, and this one I'm going to finish by a minute. They tell a story about the Hatam Sofer. So that one time, a very seemingly wealthy man, he fell from his nechasim. He lost a lot of money. He came to Hatam Sofer to complain. He said, Rabbi, I lost a lot of money. I'm in a lot of debt, and I don't know what to do. And there's a show that's coming up. There's a show that's coming up. If I don't show my face, the people are going to know that I'm not doing well, and there's going to be talk amongst the community, and that's it. No one's going to give me loans anymore. I'm going to be in a tremendous embarrassment. So the Hatam Sofer felt bad for the guy. He takes out from his drawer. He takes out 100 gold coins. That was his savings, and he says, "I'm going to give you this. Go and invest in the business." And he said, "Rabbi, I didn't expect you to give me your life savings. I just wanted to speak my piece. I just wanted to unload whatever troubles I'm having." Hatam Sofer said, "It's okay. Take this and invest it, and you should be masliach." So the guy goes to the show. He invests in coffee. And then the next day, the coffee, it took off. He took the money that he made from there. He sold all his shares. He reinvested, and he got back all his money. Right before he decided to pay back the rabbi, he decided, I know that Hatam Sofer is a big mevin in diamonds. He loves diamonds. So he said to himself, I'm going to repay the rabbi the money that he gave me. On top of that, I'm going to give him a diamond because I know that he loves diamonds. Rabbi, what's the halacha? Could the Hatam Sofer accept the diamond? No, he cannot. It's 100% considered a beat. We learn maybe if it's a small gift, maybe if it's afterwards, but definitely not a diamond. Anyway, so he comes with the Hatam Sofer and he says, Rabbi, here's the 100 gold coins that you gave me, and plus I want to give you a gift. He gave him a diamond. Hatam Sofer looks at the diamond. He goes, wow, this is such a gorgeous diamond. It's so beautiful. It's so flawless. He's looking this way. He's looking that way. He's looking over here. He's looking over there. He takes out that little thing, the loop. He takes out the loop. He's looking at the loop, and then he tells the guy. He says, this is a gorgeous diamond, but I can't accept this. This is rebit. He goes, what do you mean it's a rebit? Yeah, because you're giving me my money back. I gave you the money as a loan, and plus this is a gift that's considered rebit. I cannot accept it. The man says, okay, and he leaves. As the man leaves, the students, they tell him, they said, Rabbi, we understand that you can't accept the diamond because it's rebit, but why did you look at it so, it's very un-rabbi-like to focus so much on a diamond. What are you turning it this way, looping that way? He goes, I'll tell you the truth. He goes, businessmen, they have an opportunity to lend every single day, money. And they could do so without having rebit. You get a mitzvah d'oraita. It's a mitzvah from the Torah to lend money without rebit. He goes, rabbis, we don't have that opportunity because we don't have money to give. We can't just loan out free money. He goes, therefore, when I had the opportunity to give this guy the money, and I had the opportunity to refuse the rebit, the diamond itself was my way of saying, I don't want to accept rebit. The diamond itself was the way that I got to the mitzvah of saying, I'm lending this money and I'm not lending it with rebit. Therefore, the diamond itself was the catalyst in which way I was able to lend the money and say, I refuse the rebit. The diamond, Bezat Hashem, the Chanto Sofer, he probably has a factory of diamonds up there in Shamayim. But the diamond itself, he said, this was my way of refusing and saying, I now can finally fulfill the mitzvah of lending money, and I don't accept the rebit. So Bezat Hashem, like I said, gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for coming to this. Thank you so much for working so hard and making this program. You know, it's I don't have to say how much the program is. The program is considered an unbelievable program. I think in over 300 shuls and batei midrashot, batei kinesiot that this is taught. So like I said, Hayil, we should continue to grow tremendously and only do things that's considered l'shem shamayim. It should be fulfilled in us the pasuk of Ba'atem hadebegim Adonai Elohechem Chayim Kulchem Hayom. Shabbat Tov Mevorach. You can clap if you want. Gentlemen, without any further ado, I would like to thank Rabbi Lebowitz for being here. I don't think maybe the rabbi does remember, maybe he doesn't remember, but besides being one of the first Michat Chaver classes to be given in America, besides that, Rabbi Lebowitz was also my 10th grade Rabbi. And that's right. In DRS, we had 10th grade Chumash, I believe. Right? It was maybe it was Chumash. I don't exactly remember. I don't remember much about that class. But what I do remember is that correct me if I'm wrong, but the rabbi used to write notes for the thing. And anytime someone asked a good question, he used to put their name inside the notes to give them a little look. I made it into the notes almost. So I don't know. No. Okay, fine. So, without any further ado, Rabbi Aryeh, what's the
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rubinoff. I want to apologize in advance. I'm going to, any Hebrew words that I say will be in Ashkenazis and not in Sfaradit, because I'm just going to sound like an idiot, or as we say, an idiot, if I try to do it in Sfaradit. I want to share with you a piece of Torah that, first of all, taking a test on ribbis is not a simple thing. The only reason I teach the class of Semichat Chaver in North Woodbury is so I don't have to take the test. Well, you guys have to take the test. You have the hard part. I don't have to take anything. But I just want to share with you a piece of Torah that I shared in my shul a few weeks ago, figuring that there's not going to be any crossover from the crowd that was in my shul. Thanks a lot, Dan. To the crowd that's here now. Chazar, let's see if you remember. I'll say the question, you say the answer. So I want to share with you a Gemara that's a little bit of a surprising Gemara, and it's really I forgot that it was Father's Day. Thank you for the reminder to call my father. But it's an absolutely terrible Gemara to share on Father's Day. So we'll share it anyway. Now, there is a parsha in the Torah of Arachin, which is it doesn't have a great English translation of what it means. I can tell you what it does not mean. It does not mean the value of a person, but it means that the Torah assigns a particular value to people based on only two factors, not based on how tall or strong, or just based on how old and gender, just based on whether male or female and age. And if you say, I'm going to give the Aryeh of this person to the Beis HaMikdash, so then you look up in the Chumash what it says, a person in that age bracket, that gender, so you give 50 shekel, you give 30 shekel, you give whatever the amount is. The Gemara in the end of the fourth parak of Maseches Erechim notes that there seems to be a huge discrepancy between the Aryeh of a man and the Aryeh of a woman. Which, fine, okay, it's all Gzeres HaKasov, it's not talking about the actual value, and the fact that there's a difference, the Aryeh of a man and the Aryeh of a woman. Actually, I have the psukim right here, that the pasuk says that the Aryeh of a man between the ages of 20 and 60 is 50 shekel kesef b'shekel HaKodesh, 50 shekels. Aryeh of a woman, same age group, is 30 shekel, 30 shekels. Okay, fine. And then they get older. Ve'imi ben shishim shana v'mala, im zachar v'ya'erkecha chamisha esar shekel, u'lenekeva esrim asara shekalim. When they get older, the man's erech dives from 50 down to 15, and the woman's from 30 down to 10. So the Gemara says, well, wait a second. You want to tell me that the erech of a man is going to be different than the erech of a woman, maybe because men are chayiv in more mitzvahs, maybe because men are chayiv in Talmud Torah. Whatever the reason you want to give, that's fine. But why, when they get older, does the man's erech drop so much more precipitously than a woman's erech does? Meaning a woman maintains 1/3 of her original erech. She was 30, now she's 10. What's 50 divided by 3? You can't even do it, right? It's not even right. But 15 is less than 50 divided by 3, right? Meaning, if you were to the man's erech drops by a much bigger margin than the woman's erech drops. So why should that be the case? So I'm reading the lashon of the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Umayshna nekeva d'chimizkina kaima atilta, umayshna zachar d'lo kai atilta." Why is it that a man, when he gets old, he still maintains 1/3 of his erech? And a woman does not. That a man, a woman maintains 1/3 of her erech, and a man does not. So Amar Chizkiya, Amri Inchi. It's, you know what people say: Saba bebesa, pacha bebesa, Savta bebesa, sima bebesa. That when there's an old man, when there's a grandfather in the house, hey, he's just a burden on everybody. He's fetching the whole time. He's complaining. Get me this, get me that. This hurts, that hurts. When there's an old lady in the house, she's baking cookies. She's changing the baby's diapers. She's taking them to the park. You know, she's much more cheerful, much better to have around the house. But to have an old man around the house, he's so annoying. He's such a burden. And it's like I told you, terrible Gemara to share on Father's Day, right? You think about your father. That's what you're going to think about. So it's a troubling Gemara, not only because it's Father's Day. It's a troubling Gemara for a few reasons. First of all, at the end of the day, the erech of the man is still more than the erech of, even in old age, it's still 15 to 10. Second of all, it's against another Gemara. The Gemara Maseches Kiddushin tells us that when people get old, the Gemara tells us, Tanya Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi Omer, Talmidei Chachamim kol zman shemaskinin chachmam nitosefes behem. That as Talmidei Chachamim get older, they gain more chachma, they become wiser, and we therefore have great admiration for older Talmidei Chachamim. I remember when COVID first hit, so there were some people that were saying, all right, so the old people will die, okay, they lived a good life already, so the old people will die. The young people are not so at risk, the old people will. And I remember Rav Asher Weiss told us, he said he's never heard something so horrifying in his life. From a Jewish person's perspective, just to write off the old people, we value the old people so much. The old people, the Zakenim, these are the women, we honor the old, we respect the old more than anything. They become wiser, they become smarter, they become better. So why is it that one Gemara says a man gets old and he's annoying and he's kvetching and he's crying and the woman and the other Gemara says as the man gets old he becomes even wiser. So I heard the following idea from Rabbi Yisrael Reisman, Rashiv in Torah V'das. He suggested as follows. He said, there are two ways a person can go as he gets a little older. When a person is young, particularly a man, when a man is young and he's in yeshiva, he's growing, he's developing. So a young man could go a long way from 10th grade to becoming a great Talmud Chacham and becoming someone who wants to grow and wants to develop. And then you hit a certain point in life where most people stop growing, where they just sort of decide who they are and they settle into that, to that mode of who they are. You'll notice as men get older, there are two paths one can take. One can either take that path, where they just settle into who they are, and then eventually they retire and they stop being busy with work, and they end up just wasting their time, and they end up around the house crying and fetching the whole time and saying this hurts and that hurts, and this is not to my liking and that's not to my liking. Or a person can make a decision that they want to continue to grow, that they want to continue to learn. And they're going to go to a beis medrash, and they're going to go to a shul, and they're going to go to a shir, and they're going to try to learn new topics. Is a cactus arla? I don't remember last time I thought about a cactus. In cartoons when the guy lands on the cactus, ouch, right? But you can learn about these things. Is a cactus arla, and you learn about all these new things that you never thought about before, and you'll find something unbelievable. as you get older and older, and you continue to learn more and more, you become younger. You become younger. It's really unbelievable. I'll tell you a story. I was listening to a friend of mine, who's a rabbi in Boca Raton, Florida, brought a group of his people from his shul to New York for a few days to visit different rabbanim. And they went to visit Rabbi Betzalel Rudinsky in Monsey. And I asked him, he sent me all the recordings. I said, of all the different rabbis that he visited, I said, which one should I listen to? I don't have time for all of them. Which one? He said, listen to Rabbi Rudinsky. He's the best. So I listened to Rabbi Rudinsky. Rabbi Rudinsky told the story that when he was a little kid, he said his father was American. So his father only spoke English. He didn't speak Yiddish. He didn't know how to say geschmack, right? So he didn't. So he only spoke English. And his father felt that he was never able to connect to the Gedolei Yisrael at that time because they all spoke Yiddish, and he couldn't. He only spoke English. He couldn't connect with them. How's he going to talk to Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky? How's he going to talk to Rabbi Moshe Feinstein? They didn't speak English, and he always felt like something was lacking. He always felt that he was missing something. So he decided he was going to send his son, little Betzalel, to Hasidic Cheder, because they only speak Yiddish in Hasidic Cheder. And he's not a Hasidic kid. Like, he didn't fit at all. It was like, it like didn't belong at all. But at least he'll learn Yiddish. So he said, it worked, I learned Yiddish. So when little Betzalel was about 10 years old, his father said to him, listen, I want you to go to the bungalow. They were in the Catskills or something for the summer. I want you to go to the bungalow of the Debretziner Dayan. It was a Hungarian Rav, he was 90 years old at the time. Very, very intimidating person. Tells the 10-year-old Betzalel, knock on the door of Debretziner Dayan and ask him for a chavrusa, to learn with him every day. And he said, I was afraid to look at the Debretziner Dayan, let alone knock on his door, talk to him. I was afraid to look at him. But, he grew up in a generation that when your father tells you to do something you don't want to do, what do? You do it. You gulp and you do it anyway. So he went and he knocked on the door of the Debretziner Dayan. Debretziner Dayan opens the door, he almost passes out, right? The little Betzalel almost passed out, but he said, can I have a chavrusa with you? And Debretziner Dayan, 90 years old, his eyes light up. Of course. And they start learning every single day. And over the next 3 years, they finished the entire Mishnah Berurah together. He was a genius of a kid, obviously. To finish the entire Mishnah Berurah is not simple. But he finished the entire Mishnah Berurah. He said, to this day, he quotes the Debretziner Dayan almost every time he gives a shir. He had such a kesher, such closeness. Now, a 10-year-old American kid, how does he connect with a 90-year-old Hungarian rabbi? How do they connect? Because the 90-year-old learns Torah. And it's through the Torah HaKadosha. It's only through the Torah that connection can be made. It keeps a person young. It keeps a person stronger. I'll tell you, we had a Siyum in yeshiva. I don't teach in DRS anymore. I teach in yeshiva university. So we had a Siyum in yeshiva last week, where all the boys who finished Maseches Bava Metzia, they made a Siyum. A bunch of 22-year-old guys, 22-year-old guys. They made a Siyum. And there was a member of the board of the yeshiva who sponsored the whole Siyum, because he also made a Siyum. Every year, he finishes the yeshiva Masechta. He already texted me a couple of weeks ago, what Masechta are we learning next year? So I said, we're learning Ksubis next year. At the Siyum, he told me, I'm ready 20 blad in. It's Masechta Ksubis. Why was this a special Siyum for him? Because it wasn't only a Siyum on Masechta Bava Metzia. For a board member, it was also his 90th birthday. 90th birthday. How does a 90-year-old celebrate his 90th birthday with a bunch of 20-year-olds and feel like he's one of the guys, and that it's only through the Torah. It's only through the Torah. The 90-year-old is a 20-year-old. It's only through the Torah. I'll tell you one more story and then we'll wrap it up. Rabbi Reisman tells a lot of stories about his father. His father was a baker. You ever hear of Reisman's brownie bars? So that's Rabbi Reisman's father. The son is Rosh Hashiva. The father was a baker. It's an unbelievable story how he became a baker, but you probably don't have all night, so I won't share with you that story right now. But no, that's probably the best story. But anyway, the father was a baker. Rabbi Reisman said, he said whenever he talks about the two dreams that Yosef had to interpret in jail, he says which guy was killed and which guy survived. So who was killed? The baker. He said his way of remembering that is in first grade when the Rebbe taught it, the baker died. In second grade when the Rebbe taught it, the baker died. They didn't know there's a baker's kid in the class. 1 year you can't make the baker survive. Every year the story has to be where the baker dies. But so his father was a baker. His entire life he had to wake up at 4:30 in the morning because when you run a bakery you have to get going very early. So he woke up at 4:30 in the morning every day to make the brownie bars or whatever other baked goods he was making. He retired one day. So he set his alarm for 4:15. And his wife got so upset at him. He said, Rabbi Rasmus said, this is the only time I ever heard my parents fighting. He walked into the house, he heard his mother yelling at his father, you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to be sick, it's not okay, yeah, you need your rest, you're getting older. And he said, for all those years, I woke up at 4:30 for the brownie bars. Now that I'm going to Beis Medrash, I'm not going to wake up at 4:15 for the Ribbon Shalom. I'm not going to be able to. So she said, but it's not healthy. And so he finally relented. He set his alarm for 4:30 and just moved his clock by 15 minutes. He figured out a way to compromise. But how does a person do that? How does a person get younger as time goes on? It's only through the Torah. So the Aryeh of a man, it drops more precipitously because the Gemara doesn't say that any man calls man shemaskinin when he gets older, he becomes a drag and a burden and he's difficult and he's just complaining all day. No, it was very careful. The Gemara had the following words: Saba bebeisa. When he's hanging around the house, and that's all he's doing. He's got nowhere to go. Well, then he's going to drop off very, very quickly. Oh, Saba bebeis medrash. Oh, that's a different story. Calls man shemaskinin. As long as they get older, they become wiser, they become smarter, they become better, they become more valuable. And that's the trick. That's the trick to life. You know, the pasuk says in B'chukosai telechu, and Rashi says shetiu amelim b'Torah. Now, when you call for a shidduch, you have a daughter, and they say that this is a young man who is learning. Right? What did they say? He is walking and learning. No, what do they say? He's sitting and learning. Right? So, b'chukosai telechu, and the word telechu, Rashi says, oh, that's amelus b'Torah. Why is telechu? Amelus b'Torah should be, if you sit, in b'chukosai teishnu, that's amelus b'Torah. Why telechu? Because so long as you're learning, you're always growing. You're always becoming more. You're always becoming better. You're becoming a better person. You're becoming a better Jew. As you've probably discovered, you're becoming a better husband and a better father, a better role model, as Rabbi Rubinoff pointed out. These kids see that you're with the notes, and they see that that's what you're studying for, and that's what you're thinking about, and that's the greatest bracha of all. So, well, yeah, it's challenging. Ribbis is very challenging, and ashreichem for having made it through that zman and still being here with smiles on your face. But as you'll see, the more you dedicate yourself, the more you learn, the more you continue to go through life with a desire to grow and to learn and to become, the more you're going to be, and you're not going to be that Saba Bebesa where everybody's like, where's Safta? We had enough of Saba already, right? You're going to see that everybody is going to value you, and it's going to be, and you're going to value yourself, and you'll be able to stay young, Be'ezrat Hashem, for many, many years and many, many decades.
Amen. Yes, please. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi Lebowitz. Okay, gentlemen, we're gonna give out the Teudot for whoever is here. Yeah, you can show them.